Ja, jetzt haben wir schon ganz viel gehört, was alles passieren kann und wie eine mögliche Zukunft aussieht. Jetzt möchte ich gerne nochmal auf das Thema lebenswerte Städte gehen, weil wir haben gerade gehört, es ist ganz wichtig, die Bedürfnisse der Menschen in den Mittelpunkt zu rücken. Und es gibt einen Herrn, der das seit Jahrzehnten sehr erfolgreich tut. Er ist Architekt, lebt in Kopenhagen und gilt als einer der einflussreichsten Städteplaner der Welt. Er hat für den Boom in Kopenhagen gesorgt, für den Umbruch in Moskau und für die Wiederbelebung Manhattans. Und grundsätzlich geht es bei ihm eben auch um diese eine Frage. Wie wollen wir künftig leben? So warm welcome goes to Professor Dr. Jan Gehl, who is in Copenhagen right now. And we are very looking forward to your presentation and to your own vision of people's cities that combine most of our needs. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So the digital stage is all yours.
Excellent. Can I have the presentation?
Sure, we will get this presentation right now.
Excellent.
And I guess then you are ready to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Or should I provide the presentation here?
So do you have your presentation right now? Do you see it on your screen?
No, I do not.
Okay, we are working on this.
Sorry?
We are working on that. We are providing your presentation in a few seconds.
Here we are.
Now you got it. Okay. And now the digital stage is all yours. Professor Gehl.
I'm going to talk about the most simple, the most banal, the most general subject of all, that whatever we do with mobility, there are people involved, and we shall look well after them, and we haven't done it for quite a while. Change. Slide. Now we are eagerly waiting for a wonderful new technological developments which will solve all our mobility problems. We are really waiting for all this shift. Change. Thank you. We are waiting for the automatic cars, the autonomous cars. They will for sure solve all the problems with mobility we ever had. Unfortunately, maybe we'll have such an awful world as is shown here on this Ford vision of the future. I'm not so convinced. Next. Or the rest of the problems will be solved by drones and helicopters, which will fill the sky over our heads with noise and communication, and I'm not so amused about that prospect. Next. Also, we talk a lot about that smart city would solve all our problems. Next. We are all waiting, and while we are waiting, we can ask, are there other meaningful things we can do? That's a bit quick, my dear. Okay, are there other things we can do? Yes, we can look much better after people in our cities. We have overlooked them for many years. Over the past 50 years, we've done everything we could to chase the people out of our cities. Next. Earlier on in the cities were made of spaces. All the life was going on in spaces. But after modernism, next, we focused on the objects rather than the spaces. And cities now became a collection of objects. And what was the result? Shift. That was, in reality, it was a goodbye to concern for people. People were overlooked and they were chased out by this awful environment. Shift. The other big development we've had in the last 50 years have been the automobile invasion. And that is another way in which people were further chased out of the cities and made sort of homeless in the city. Next. And gradually it got worse and worse in many cities. Next. By now it's 2:20, and we have other a set of new challenges. We would like to have a livable city. We would need to have a sustainable city. We will need a more healthy city. And also we will have growing demand for city good to be old in. Next. It's an age-old thing that we love spaces with people. We are a social animal and people are the biggest attraction in our cities. So taking people out of our cities is not good for man. We like it to be there. Thank you. Next. You can see how much we love life and the people in the scenery. Whenever architects deliver a project, it's crawling with happy people. If it wasn't crawling, it wouldn't be a good project. Every architect knows that. We call it people washing. Next. Another item we have really to address now more and more so is the climate challenge. We have to make sustainable cities, and we may ask, is it enough to go with your children to climate demonstration in an electric shared car? Is that enough, or could we do more? Next. We know that the more we walk and the more we bicycle, that's very good for climate. And also we know that if we are to have very good public transportation system, we must have a good public realm so we can walk to and fro the public transportation systems, which will be the mainstay in the future for most of the mobility in cities. Next. Another challenge we've had are what is called the sitting syndrome, that it makes it essential that we move more and sit less in our lives. We have done everything to have people sit as much as possible. That must go now. The doctors tell us strongly. Here we are. Next. World Health Organization introduced transport policies that promote active and safe methods of traveling, such as walking and bicycling. Don't sit, move. And move, use your own muscles. Next. Also, we have a world where more and more people are elderly in our cities. They have a lot of time and they shall walk their 10,000 steps every day. And that again puts challenges to the city planners. Next. If we look at this, that being kind to people, whether they are pedestrians, public life, or bicyclists, that addresses all the issues. You get a more lively, more livable city, a more sustainable city, a more healthy city, and a good city to be old in. Next. We may then ask, are there anywhere in the world where actually cities invite people to walk and bicycle as much as possible? Yeah, these cities are more and more frequent. There are many, many examples, big and small cities, they all do it. Next. Here, I could tell about the work I've been involved in making Melbourne, Sydney, New York, or even Moscow humanize these places, make them, all of them have been improved based on modeling from Copenhagen, taking inspiration from Copenhagen. I will not tell about these today. Next. I will tell about Copenhagen, my hometown, because that is a special city in Europe and in the world, because that's a city which for 58 years now have followed a people-first policy. Next. It all started in 1962 when the first street was cleared of cars. Nobody believed it would ever work in this part of the world, but the moment people had room to move and room to enjoy, they started to take over these spaces and go back to what Homo sapiens have always liked very much, spaces for people. Next. What is special about Copenhagen is that this was the first city in the world which started systematically to document how people use the city and to find out just as much about the people in the city as the traffic engineers knew about the traffic in the city. That makes it possible to improve the situation for people systematically. This work has been going on all the way since the 60s, and it's been a cooperation between city and University of Copenhagen. Next. This is Copenhagen in 62. One street has been pedestrianized. Next. This is the inner city of Copenhagen now, with all the spaces which have been prepared for public life for pedestrians or shared a public life and automobiles, but curbing the automobiles, the speed and the way they move around. Next. We've seen the whole city completely change. All the spaces used to be parking lots, all of them are now people spaces. Next. We've seen all the waterfront streets, they were parking lots, they were streets, now they are all for people. Next. We've seen a number of new types of public spaces where emphasis is on moving and sports, like this swimming pool in the harbor. Next. Or this. One important thing about Copenhagen, another important thing, they counted the people, they knew about what public life was all about, and then they started to have strategies, and strategies are very important. They have this strategy, City Council decided in 2009, we will be the best city in the world for people, and then they set out goals, where shall we be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. Strategies are very important to get the visions come through. Next. Important part of, because the strategy also emphasizes it's not about the city center, it's about the whole city. And you can see this all over in Copenhagen. All the arterial streets have been changed like this. So instead of asphalt from one side to the other, now we have a median, we have only 2 lanes of traffic, we have street trees, we have bicycle lanes. The lower street is much more beautiful, it's much more safe, and it can take the same number of cars as could the other one, because the traffic engineers now, they are much smarter than they were in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Next. Another item which is characteristic of Copenhagen is the continued sidewalks and bicycle lanes, which goes across all the smaller streets, meaning that now we can bicycle without crossing streets, and the children can walk to school because they can stay on the sidewalk all the way from their door to the door of the school. Next. Another part of the Copenhagen strategy has been to promote and invite for bicycling. They provided a complete citywide network of proper, good bicycle lanes. They are wide enough, they have curbs to either side, and they are useful for all generations, from the youngest to the oldest. Next. And that has given rise to, it's really become an alternative citywide transportation system. You can transport everything. Every third family has a cargo bike to transport their kids around. Next. Crucial in the bicycle city is the street crossings in Copenhagen. This has been studied and they've been made pretty safe. And when my grandchildren is 12 years old, they are allowed to go all over the city on their bikes. That gives mobility to the younger generation. Next. Also, to have an alternative transportation system, you must be able to walk to the train or to bicycle to the train, and you must be able to take your bicycle on the train so you can continue your journey at the end of the train ride on the bicycle. So it's really an alternative transportation and mobility system. Next. Also in Copenhagen, they have the strategy that it should always be easier, more convenient and faster to go by bicycle than by automobile. And they put in a number of shortcuts and bridges for bicycles and pedestrians, which makes it much easy and obvious to take the bicycle when you move around. Next. Also in the area of bicycling, they worked on strategies with intervals. They make new strategies. This one from 2011 said, we will be the best city in the world for bicycling. And where shall we be 5 years from now and 10 years from now? Next. And what has happened in Copenhagen is that there has been an enormous growth in bicycling. They have developed an impressive culture of using bicycle. And by 2018, 49% of everybody going to work or studies in the million city of Copenhagen are arriving on their bicycles. 10 years ago, it was only 38%. Next. What have we learned in Copenhagen and the other cities? That if you make good invitations, you will have more walking, more public life, and more bicycling, and you will have a much better city generally for everyone. Next. What have we learned? I can see that NaKoMo have understood it all. You have a very good logo for this conference. I see that you have 11 pedestrians, 3 bicycles rolling and 4 parked, 1 cargo bike, 1 light rail, and only 1 car and 1 electrical car also. Unfortunately, that is parked on the sideway. But this is a good way to start. Congratulations with the logo. Next. And if you would like how to do it, I have 3 books made out in German, and here you can read how to make it simple and to make civil cities your first priority. Thank you very much.
Professor Gehl, thank you so much. Yes, we would definitely like to know how we can do it. And this is why we have a question out of our chat, because our audience can raise questions. And I would like to give this question to you. Also erstmal vielen Dank für Ihre Fragen aus dem Chat. Ich werde die einmal kurz vorlesen und dann versuchen, das Ganze auch nochmal, also die entsprechende Antwort zu übersetzen. So, Professor Gehl, the question is, many cities do good things, but car ownership is still rising in most cities. What is the number 1 advice you tell cities when you start advising them? What can smaller cities can start with? So it's besides good invitations.
Were you talking about smaller cities?
Exactly, because we have many viewers today. They are acting in smaller cities, and this is why we are focusing on that.
We can say that whatever size a city has, there will be a lot of people walking in their daily life. So it's always a good idea to make sure that you are kind to the people. There will be people all over the place. Not also when you drive, when you step out of your car, at once you are a person, you are people, and you will have to treat them well. But also from smaller cities, I know that it's very important what you invite for. If you make more streets, you get more traffic. If you make a good bicycle system, good bicycle lanes, if you invite people to bike more and to walk more, we know from all types of cities that these ways of moving will grow. So it's a matter very much of what you invite for. And of course, you can also, in the long run, make it more difficult or more expensive to go by car on the journeys where cars are not necessary.
So it's all about the infrastructure and the dialogue.
And policies and strategies.
Okay, also kurze Übersetzung nochmal. Professor Gehl hat jetzt gesagt, zum einen ist es wichtig, das haben wir eben auch schon von Herrn Uhle gehört, dass man mit den Bürgerinnen und Bürgern in den Dialog geht, dass man sie also einlädt, ihre Ideen auch zu diskutieren, aber dass man eben auch mit der Infrastruktur schon gewisse Dinge vorgibt in der Stadt. Also je mehr Straßen gebaut werden, desto mehr Autos werden wir haben. Je mehr Radwege wir bauen, desto mehr Fahrräder werden unterwegs sein. Thank you so much for this answer and all the best to you. Greetings to Copenhagen.
Thank you.